discover a world of more.
We are optimistic, positive. We are building today a brighter tomorrow by realizing our potential. We are smart, the new mobile network for new Africa. Let's talk.
Mubadde balabi balungi aba NTV akawungezi tuddemu nate encha musire bulungi.
NTV, turning on your world. Today's highlight.
Well, Eloisa, so you've gotten back with Rose's ex-husband? Well done, you're quick.
It was easy, Mrs. Veronica. He'll go for anyone.
Right, but did you find anything out?
Be glad I came by earlier and had a nice chat with him. He's been warned.
Warned of what?
Calm down, Mom.
About the rent, Rose? What? Half the money he pays for it must come to me.
You got what you wanted, Tiao. Make a mess of my life.
You're the one who did it, right, Dad? Why did you do it, Dad? Uncle Vicente was so nice.
Leave, Tiao. Get out of this house.
Today's highlight.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
One of the most awesome and fantastic experience of morning is breakfast. If you're having some breakfast, if you're leaving home, if you're actually just leaving the bar like some people that I've met, especially around Kamocha, and watching this show, welcome to NTV Morning. And we're going to give you an awesome experience that will last for the next 2 hours. Let's get started with the question of the day. Now that should be quite easy. Just head over to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and help us answer that simple question. If you follow world politics, that should be easy. First 5 respondents will each walk out with a mug from Morning at NTV. You can also go to our Twitter handle at Morning at NTV. Feel free to tag me at MBGold2 and of course at NTV Uganda, and the rest of the guys at Dak Kabachigongo, at Kasiate, at Joel Senyunyi, at Mebkeb, hashtag Mrs. Muhereza, who is away experiencing the moon. Yeah, our greetings, and of course feel free to tag at NTV Uganda. When I come back, I'll be giving you the stories that are shaping the headlines this morning.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
Warm welcome to you if you're just joining us on your telly or on your screen or the new awesome app That is NTV Mobi. Just go to your Google Play Store and download NTV Mobi. You can catch us wherever you can. This is Morning at NTV. My name is Brian Mlondo, and with the stories that are shaping headlines this morning. Now, the situation remains tense in Moyo town after more clashes broke out mid-morning, with locals in the area burning tires and houses belonging to the Kuku community of South Sudan. One person was injured after he was shot with an arrow. Residents began expressing their bitterness on Monday following the detention of the Moyo district chairman and resident district commissioner by South Sudanese authorities. On Monday, police and the UPDF soldiers managed to calm the situation after 15 grass-thatched huts said to belong to South Sudanese were burnt. We spoke to the West Nile Regional Police spokesperson who confirmed the clashes.
Moyo town has been tense for the second day running. Police said about 11 a.m., Ugandans in Moyo town and neighboring areas mobilized and burnt tires in parts of the town. They also targeted and burnt down huts belonging to the Kuku community. The Kuku people are originally from South Sudan.
Yesterday there were 15 huts burnt. Then later on this morning it was confirmed that about 7 huts were burnt down. One person was shot with the arrow. Police and army tried to contain the situation.
There were claims that some women were raped and cattle stolen in the spate of violence, but the police say they do not have evidence to that effect. On Monday, Moyo woman MP Anaru mobilized residents for a peaceful demonstration to draw government attention to their calls to expedite the verification of the border between South Sudan and Uganda. The border dispute has been running for years. Moyo district in West Nile shares its northern border with South Sudan. Adjumani district is located to the east, River Nile in the south, and Yumbe district to the west. The demonstration later turned violent after the protesters torched over 15 houses, including a church owned by a South Sudanese national. They locked the border with a chain and put a log across the road.
Investigations kicked off immediately with naming of the ringleaders, of those who participated in the violence, particularly those who burnt down the huts. However, no arrest made yet. There is a meeting going on headed by the division commander, 4th Division, Afande Muhanzi, at the Afodi border post, which is also attended by South Sudanese security personnel. We are waiting for the outcome of the meeting.
Tempers flared 2 weeks ago when South Sudanese policemen detained Moyo District Chairman Jimmy Vukoni and Resident District Commissioner John Abingwa, who had gone to rescue census officials arrested earlier. The arrests were made at Wano village in Moyo sub-county, an area claimed by Uganda and South Sudan. The South Sudanese felt that Ugandans had no right conducting the census there.
And yet, according to Ugandan map, that village is located in Wano. That area is located in Wano village, area parish, Moyo sub-county, Moyo district, and in Uganda.
There were also unconfirmed reports that residents had hired 10 beehives in a plan to unleash bees on the South Sudanese.
Very sad events there, and we'll be following that story closely. Now, controversial Aru County MP Odonga Oto has predicted that the ruling NRM party will win northern Uganda by more than 90% in 2016 because of the massive developments in the area. Speaking to journalists at Parliament, Oto, an opposition MP, said the opposition had nothing to tread on because the population, northern Uganda, is exited with new development. As Agnes Nandutu reports, Oto, who says is quitting politics, is advising the opposition parties, especially his FDC, to look for new areas of support since the North will go to President Museveni and the NRM.
Aru MP Odonga Oto is known to throw up a storm, leaving friends and foes shocked. The unpredictable youthful opposition FDC party MP now doubts the strength of the opposition in northern Uganda. Since 1996, the region has predominantly voted for the opposition in previous elections under President Yoweri Museveni. The maverick Oto told journalists at Parliament earlier in the day that unless the opposition works much harder in the 2016 general elections, President Yoweri Museveni's ruling NRM government is likely to gain even more votes from 2011 and sweep the north by more than 90%. Otto says government has significantly developed the north that suffered the LRA insurgents for more than 2 decades.
The Gulu-Nimule road has been tarmacked. The Gulu-Kitgum-Lira road is going to be tarmacked. This is just the north. Electricity has been extended in 70% of the areas in the north because people are so excited about these facilities.
This is one of those who benefited from the opposing the NRM for failing to win the war, for failing to do this, but now this war is over. Everything is coming back to square one. The school is being built, hospitals, everything is being done.
Otto, who has been Aru MP since 2001, says he will quit politics, but he thinks a number of opposition MPs will not make it in the 2016 general elections. He argues that the population will vote for NRM MPs, given the new infrastructure projects in the Greater North.
Whoever advised the NRM to extend electricity and tarmac roads to areas that did not have it is the spin master that has made the NRM finally reach the last man.
Although his opposition colleagues from the north agree the region has significantly changed, they argue that it is unreasonable to attribute this achievement to the NRM government and President Yoweri Museveni.
From Lira to Dokolo, very smooth road, which proceeds up to Soroti. It's a very good road, but that doesn't mean that I must shout on top of my voice, because that's part of government responsibility.
Extensive rural electrification program that has touched nearly all the major trading centers in my constituency, at least. Many of the either to impassable roads, including bridges, have been worked on. But what I do not agree with is that it is exclusively the work of government.
But the second Deputy Prime Minister, General Moses Ali, whose Moyo East constituency is in the Greater North, says the restoration of peace in the region, coupled with infrastructure developments, would deny the opposition the political clout it enjoyed in the past. Agnes Nandutu, NTV, Parliament.
Interesting story there, and so some people have said that maybe Odonga Otto, in quotes, Yali Day. I will be talking about that later, but you can head over to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and let us know what you think about the latest coming from the MP. Now, moving on, officials of the Ministry of Water and Lands and Environment has had a hard time before the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee as they try to explain the diversion of 9.4 billion. The financial anomaly was contained in the Auditor General's report for the financial year 2012-2013. The ministry officials, led by Permanent Secretary David Obong, admitted diverting the money to train and pay some contract staff, even when MPs noted that the activity had been separately budgeted for. Maurice Ochol has that report from Parliament.
Senior officials from the Ministry of Water and Environment, led by Permanent Secretary David Obong, failed to explain how 9.4 billion shillings was used. The officials were before the Parliamentary Accounts Committee to respond to the queries raised in the 2012-2013 Auditor General's report.
So, could we get it from you why you had to do this, and whether you are not aware of the law?
The PS of Ministry of Water and Gender is still wanting for having usurped the powers of Parliament. He went and appropriated money in his own ministry.
The committee members, led by Chairperson Sarah Woman MP Alice Alaso, also found that the money was used for other purposes other than the sectors for which it was budgeted.
Because what it was spent on is very absurd. It is consumables. They are talking about salaries for contract workers, and salaries for contract workers are budgeted for. They are talking of things like stationery, travel inland. You can see that this was money that they just intended to spend anyhow.
Permanent Secretary David Obong admitted to have sanctioned the diversion of the funds and stressed that they would correct the errors.
Our action did not comply with the law.
I can still request to be allowed to make retrospective request for authority in this area.
The committee will write its report to the plenary for debate. But it appears that the permanent secretary, who is the ministry's accounting officer, could be held liable for abuse of office and diverting funds. Maurice Ochol, NTV at Parliament.
Now on to some very sad news this morning. Survivors of an accident that claimed 6 lives on Monday evening on the Mityana-Mubende Highway are receiving treatment at Mityana Hospital. 5 people who sustained serious injuries remain in critical condition. This is the 4th accident on the road in 2 months.
Many people are still flocking Mityana District Referral Hospital to check whether their relatives perished in the accident that occurred on Monday evening on the Mityana-Mubende Highway. According to eyewitnesses, the driver of the lorry carrying cattle lost control as he tried to dodge a boda cyclist who suddenly joined the road. The truck then overturned. The survivors, who are in critical condition, include Elias Asimwe, George Luganzu, Frank Bwogere of Bulanga, Bernard Ranglama, resident of Kasubi in Kampala, and Sylvia Kayesu.
All those who were on board, the men who were carrying cows to Kampala, including the cows, were all smashed out. So we arrived at about 6:15 and we found 6 people had died on the spot.
This is the 4th accident on Mityana-Mubende Highway in less than 2 months.
Very, very sad there. We ask you, of course, to be very careful when driving on these roads. Now, this morning, the inaugural public lecture in honor of former Inspector General of Police, Lieutenant Colonel Erinayo Wilson Oriema, has produced a mixed bag. Now, participants at the public lecture have rapped their powers that be for not doing much to improve the force's image. As Moses Akena reports, the issue of militarizing the force featured prominently in the deliberations yesterday.
The inaugural lecture held in memory of the first Ugandan Inspector General of Police, Lieutenant Colonel Erinayo Wilson Oriema, shone the spotlight on the man himself, as well as the record of post-colonial police officers. There was general consensus that despite trying to sanitize its image, bouts of high-handedness and poor remuneration have dogged the force.
Where do you draw the line between serving the state or the regime and the interests of particular individuals?
Is to open the political space to de-escalate some of the pressures that are putting the police in bad light.
The colonial police was well trained, was smart, was well motivated, and they were never political.
There were also concerns about the current streak that has seen the force militarized under the stewardship of the current Inspector General of Police, Kale Kayihura, himself a 4-star general.
A simple robbery, they're using AK-47. So how do you expect the police to respond with a platoon?
The image problem, the brutality, the militarization, these elements are there, there's no doubt. We cannot deny. But what are we doing about it to diminish or remove them completely from the work of police?
The late Lieutenant Colonel Erinayo Wilson Oriema became the first Ugandan Inspector General of Police when he took over the mantle in 1964.
My father was a very good man. He was not a tribalism, even religion.
You know, I was really not believing that really the government of Uganda, especially in the police department, can take the initiative of reburying our own son, Erinayo Oriema.
Lieutenant Colonel Oriema's remains will be reburied during a state function at his ancestral home in Porongo Sub-County, Noya District, on Thursday. Moses Sakena, NTV.
If you're just joining us, you're watching Morning at NTV. It's a Awesome breakfast experience this morning. Head over to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and you can also tweet us at Morning at NTV to follow those stories. You can also go to YouTube and check out the stories that you missed yesterday. We've just launched an fantastic app on our platform. Just go to your Google Play Store app and download NTV Mobi, where you can catch NTV wherever you are. Whether in a meeting, you can just watch NTV on your phone, on your Android smartphone, whether you're in a restaurant, whether you're on a bus or a taxi, you can catch wherever you are on NTV. Now, standing by are the gentlemen on the other side who are going to feed us this morning with what is happening and making headlines in the dailies this morning. Good morning, Simon.
Yes, good morning, Brian. It's kind of an overcast Wednesday morning, the 17th day of September 2014. And yes, coming to you live from the precincts of the Kampala Serena Hotel Conference Center, stroke, whatever you want to call it, same precincts. We're bringing to you what's making the headlines in the three newspapers that we happen to have this morning: the Daily Monitor, the Observer, and of course, the Red Paper. And of course, there's quite more interesting stories, including a headline story in the Observer where General Sejusa says Mbabazi is expired. Now, I do not know whether it's a case of the pot calling the kettle black, but that's what we'll be looking at when we return from this. And good morning. Good morning, Joel.
Good morning.
Tell me, when you hear a guy like Sejusa saying that Mbabazi is expired, what comes to your mind? Isn't it a piece of rotten chicken in the dustbin saying that the packed sardines in the fridge are actually beyond their sell-by date?
But I hear him. Sejusa is one guy you don't want to write off too soon.
No, wait a minute, Joel. Please, let's not try to be magnanimous and try to be understanding.
Look, where was Besigye before 2001? For how many years?
At least he was in this country.
No, he went into exile for about 5 or so years, and then he came back with...
And when he was there, Besigye continuously engaged. And guess what? Besigye realized that exile is expired. It just mean one and the same thing.
Without a doubt.
And he chose to return to this country. And I will tell you, I applaud Besigye for making that gallant decision to come back here. You know what happened when the guy returned here? Gladly, I was still in very active journalism, and I went to meet him mid-air as he was returning to Texas, and I had an extensive, almost 3 hours interaction with him, discussing what his fears and aspirations are and what he thought and what exactly exile life was. And in all the things that he told me, he captures the fact that he shouldn't have left this country, never mind the amount of threat that was on his life.
I think...
And imagine that even that threat was being made around to him by his own best man, Sejusa here. If there's anyone who can be best described as flip-flop,
I think so. I think Sejusa is a coward, but between you and I, he stands better chances than Honorable Mbabazi. Honorable Mbabazi is aging. 2, his chances are within the NRM.
So as Mbabazi grows older,
he's a lot older than Sejusa. No. He's a lot older than Sejusa, yeah. But you see, he's... do your research properly.
He may have his grey hair,
do
just
your
like
research.
I have a bald head. That doesn't make me older.
Older than me, eh?
Exactly.
But Honorable Mbabazi's chances stand within the NRM. But again, his chances do not stand within the NRM. So it's an oxymoron of sorts. He's an expired man. I think it's a tall order for him. Let's watch the space and see what happens. But talking of expiry, there's one man here who is not expired. Kaihura gets 4th term as IGP. He's been given another 3-year contract by the police authority. His contract is meant to end 10th November. But apparently it's going to be renewed. And of course, people are talking about what he's done, what he's not done. Last night I had Andrew Mwenda throwing the man praises. And I thought, oh, come on. Of course, there's speculation that this Andrew Mwenda man must be on Kaihura's payroll. Whether or not he is, I don't agree entirely with him.
He's one of the most highly paid people, if the kind of word that you spew here is anything to go by. When he says Kasate is a nice guy, he's very smart, he's articulate, Kasate has paid Mwenda. When he says, you know, Biarugawa is a man who has moved this $1 trillion fund to $4 trillion, Mwenda has taken half of that.
Maybe somebody should join Andrew Mwenda's payroll.
Now I think, now we are going to say that Mwenda has actually paid me.
Well, I'm talking about speculation that I've heard out there. Whether or not it's true, it's corridor talk. But
and I would be glad for anyone to claim that Mwenda has paid me, because one thing is for sure, I know
got
how very stingy he is with his little money. So.
Well, it is little, but he's very stingy with it. Look, I don't have, was talking about how Kaihura is the best police chief we have had and so on. I like to think of Kalechi's Kaihura as a politician. I think he's a very good politician. In my opinion, he's been a fair disaster as a police officer. He's done one or two things. He's fought criminality. He's trying to do this whole police, relations with the public, community policing, and so on. From
police to community police.
Yeah, but I think he's more of a politician than he is a police officer. So let him cut his...
Joel, if they say at this point in time, we need a businessman to host this show, as opposed to a quintessential journalist. Would NTV have made a wrong decision to get a quintessential businessman who's going to come here, has got his suave, debonair style, he speaks very well like a CEO, and has got the ability to woo advertisers onto this show?
Let me answer you this way.
Would you be wrong if, in doing that, they are still abiding by the general tenets of journalism, which is objectivity, truthfulness, and of course being accurate?
Let me answer you this way. You did not do mass comm. You did social sciences or something of the sort. I did statistics, business statistics. But here we are. I hope we are doing a very good job.
So,
one would imagine that it must be a PhD in mass communication. But you see, at the end of the day, we have tried to grasp and continue to grasp the tenets of mass communication and journalism. Exactly. This man has been at this job for about 9 years. Has he delivered as a police officer?
Exactly my point. There could be folks out there who are saying, now look at these masqueraders going around and showing us middle fingers because they have got the benefit of platform. The question would be, has Kaihura delivered?
It depends on who is answering that question. No, President Museveni, yes. To Ugandans, I don't know. Maybe we should ask that question.
No, I'm asking you. I want to believe that you are not, you've not moved away from being a Ugandan. Are you now from Burundi?
I am a Ugandan, and I think he's a politician. He's not your...
And that's why my point came that maybe at this point in our history, at this point in our polity, we needed a politician who would come in, therefore, to bring together police. And you realize that police also had its own challenges. When Sebutinde sat and carried out that much-loaded investigation and issued that very stinging report, all that time, was the police being led by politicians or soldiers? Certainly not. It was carrier police officers. If Sebutinde were to return today and carry out a similar investigation, perhaps even with more oomph now since she's had some experience with the Hague and all that, do you think the findings would be as stinging and stinking as they were when she sat here many years ago?
Your guess is as good as mine. My point really being is that
my guess is certainly not as good as yours. My guess is that
your rightful guess. I imagine, General Kaihura has done a lot more to ensure the preponderance and the stay in power of the NRM as opposed to serving Ugandans. And that's why what we see all over the place. That is why many times you see him investigating within the NRM. Who is eyeing President Museveni's job as if that is supposed to be police work? So I think he's failed in that particular area. But he has chance. He's got another 3 years. Let him put his act together and do a much better job and serve Ugandans.
Well,
the lizard asks interesting, states here. It says he still has some tear gas to finish. So
there we have it. So more terror suspects are flee. We're told that 2 Somali-born Kenyans elude arrest, and let's not forget that this recently, over the last weekend, police led by the man that Joe prefers to call the belligerent General Kaihura, did nip this in the bud. And of course, we received kudos from across the world, including a phone call to our president from the ambassador of the United States of America, who are the vanguards of peace, security, tranquility, and everything that you can think about.
And now, I think we need to do a lot more still on terrorism. I was just checking out the red paper along the way. I saw that Al-Shabaab are laying out a plan on how to bomb Uganda again. So we need to be vigilant. We've nipped it in the bud. For now, we need not relax.
Police threatens to ban reckless bus drivers. Of course, we receive threats from the police all the time. Perhaps that is one of...
That has become absolute nonsense. Seat belts, throw them out the window. Speed governors, they threaten, they huff and puff all over the place. Before you know it, it dissipates. So that is not news anymore.
Talking about more from the police, the Observer reports that Kawesi, who is the former chief of police in the Kampala metropolitan area, is saying that Bafere or conmen loaded his exit. Question is, can we say that he comfortably reduced the level of Bufere from 100 to 0? But well, there we are. We know that he gave them quite a bloody nose, and that's why they are loading his exit.
That guy should stop being full of himself. Does he think there's nobody who can take over from him and do an even much better job?
That's a question I wish you could ask him when he returns here one of these days. Now, we are told that members of parliament are probing 40 boards. Now, well, you know...
When are we going to probe parliament?
You don't need to probe. Gladly for them, and they normally like using this, I think, that the more a monkey climbs up, the more it exposes whatever it does. For them, they're already up there. And at no one time do we fail to see their backside. And the kicker here is that failed politicians dominate these boards. Of course, you know. Each one of those members of parliament is aiming at ensuring that when they fail politically, they can be given a good landing site, one of which is appearing at some of these boards. Now, the same members who are now at it are beginning to probe these boards. I mean, anyway, get yourself a copy of The Observer and read as to why Parliament, of all things, is getting down to probe some boards in this country. Or are they simply job hunting, trying to find out from those boards which is the most lucrative? So when
they are doing their research.
They are doing their research at our cost and inconvenience. So that when their political career is down, they possibly know where to appeal the president from. Mr. President, at least if you cannot make me an ambassador, make me a board chairperson of UBC or ESCOM.
Or an RDC. Now, we are told South Sudan is expelling all foreign nationals, all foreign workers. Notice has been given, and they expect them to be out of the country on 15. This is reminiscent, or whichever, if you like, of back in the day when Idi Amin expelled agents from here. So South Sudan authorities are saying, look, we have got competent South Sudanese. I may not like the manner in which they are doing it, but I hear them, and I think we need to do a lot more here in this country. Everybody and their mother comes here and they take over jobs that should literally be for Ugandans. We probably are not doing enough, and it's interesting that South Sudan is leading the way in this.
Well, if I was anything in this country, I possibly would go and close down Tito Tong's bar, because there are 110,000 Ugandans who are able to run a bar in Uganda. Tito Tong is a South Sudanese national. I know South Sudanese in this country who are doing all sorts of menial jobs, and others who are just here doing nothing.
But that bar is not a government job.
No, I'm just telling you.
Private business.
Yeah, but it's in this country here.
They're not saying businessmen get out of your business. They're saying these government jobs especially.
And I'm also saying that for in retaliation, you see, when you're going to retaliate,
you'd say, be retaliating?
Anyway, to South Sudan, why would you retaliate? Clearly.
They need us a lot more than we need them. But I see their point. You know, in this country, and elsewhere it's done likewise. You know, in Rwanda, for example, yes, they are calling on professionals and that kind of thing, but priority is given to their locals. We don't do that in this country.
But you see, South Sudan must understand a few things, especially given the fact of their history and where they are. This is not a time to start going around, boistering around to have a... They have more competently trained South Sudanese, but who are most of the part living in the diaspora.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They should be able to pacify their country. No! You see, don't create a lacuna and expect people to just come down here. What is the incentive of Manute Ball to come to South Sudan, for example? If I'm just talking about someone who, you know, is not living there. Alek Wek, what is her incentive of coming to do some fashion work in Juba? Create an environment, and Alek Wek will not even need to be cajoled to come back home. She will just find it upon herself to come home and join the progress that is going on. They were random, scattered across the globe. Many of them returned home because the environment was such that they could ply their trade.
And the same applies to Singapore Israelis. And others.
Exactly. The same applies to Israelis. They were scattered across the world. They had no home. The moment they got a home and the conditions in there were favorable for them, many of them returned home. They are struggling to come back home today as we speak. So South Sudan should not put the cart before the horse. Let them, I mean, they are here. You do not even know whether South Sudan is a country being governed by a president or a bunch of warlords. And you are
hope
here
it doesn't slowly but surely become a Somalia of sorts. Anyway, now we are told here,
past them.
This is according to MPs, island people use kavera as condoms. You know, MPs are moving around, committees trying to do research, understanding what is your biggest problem, and people tell them condoms. For us here, we use kaveras.
Wednesday light in the Observer newspaper. We're looking at a bunch of guys. I mean, I've met them on the road and I'm quite impressed by their way of lifestyle. I only hope that they stay safe. To 3 countries, 2 time zones on 2 wheels. This is a group of bikers who are using their sporting, fun-loving expeditions to do some charity work. And here is an interesting feature of how they moved between Uganda to Rwanda and Burundi, and quite an interesting feature here. Well, you may look at bikers on the road and think that they are all a good-for-nothing bunch of people, but certainly there is always very much good coming from them. And this is an interesting story to read in the Observer this morning.
Quote of the day in the Daily Monitor, President Museveni on his 70th birthday. My children and grandchildren, what you need to do is to look after your health. Don't squander it by taking alcohol, smoking, and promiscuity. All right. Interesting. Betty Olive Kamia writes here, and she says, I insist Uganda's government problem stems from constitution. She's still moving around with... she thinks that the presidency has got a lot of power, and that's one of our biggest predicaments in this country.
Because she's not the president of the country. When she becomes, she realizes she has no powers. The Observer this morning is sending kudos to security for averting the terror attack, while the Red Pepper is leading with an interesting headline. Interesting in the sense that you need to get a copy of the Red Pepper and read it for yourself. State House panics over Saleh's health.
Now, of course, there is a lot more soil being thrown at Kaihura and his police force, which they wanted to change to a police, because it's police force now. They thought by changing name to Uganda Police Service, that would ameliorate it in one way or another. This is Naduli Luero District Chairman. He's also the Vice Chairman of NRM Central. He says we should overhaul the CIID. It talks of incompetence, you know, files disappearing, and he feels Kaihura has actually not done a very good job. And this is what the campaign highlighted the other week, that please, if you are having a very rough time dealing with police officers, kindly send us that message on our Twitter handle or on our Facebook page. Many of these police officers, unless if they are CID officers, when they have uniform, they have their name and number written on them. Interact with them, yes, but send us the positives and negatives. Perhaps this feedback will help them better their game. Of course, some of them are so belligerent, like this character called Buyinza and his friend Obonyo from here we go again.
Who now say, we are going to look for that man. We know we will get him on drink driving. Please, I don't live in that area. They can come and pitch up at the end of my home. I dare them.
Perhaps they can arrest you for drink presenting, since you're drinking coffee this morning.
That is very fine. But and I told them, I repeatedly told them that by the time I am done with them, they may have the benefit of uniform, but I have the benefit of platform, name and shame, and make them look so small before the people with whom they are supposed to be serving. People in Chireka had...
But we should hear this guy's side of the story.
But
we hear yours only.
No, they
should host them on the big story.
They go around speaking on the road. Every motorist, they stop and say, are you guys... That man is talking badly about us and all that. So I get their stories. I get their feedback back and forth. So they can use their platform. I will use my platform. But at the end of the day, both of us must be seen to do a professional job. You don't just flag down somebody because it's a Sunday and you shouldn't have to go to school on Monday and you want to use the threat of uniform to extort money from them. That I refuse.
But Simon, you actually said you did not have a permit, then you actually had an expired ID. So these guys had right to engage you.
So they were looking for IDs. They were looking for IDs or permits.
No, for your permit, which you didn't have.
And I asked him one question. So, if by law you're allowed to bring a permit in 48 hours, within those few minutes where you're going to take an ID you've picked up a dashboard, you're doing the right thing.
So have you taken it after 48 hours?
Did he ask for it? He thought that...
But he should be a good citizen like I know you to be.
Well, I'm telling you, I cannot be a good citizen to a bad police officer.
No, be a good citizen to the state, to Uganda, not to a one who is...
And that is precisely what I am doing here, informing the police leadership and all and sundry that there is some major rot that is going on in the place.
Kaihura, you have had your work is cut out for you in the next 3 years. Now, we are told Parliament is poised to reject more taxes amidst government fears that we may not be able to collect adequate funding, adequate taxes for the 2014-2015 budget. Look, we collect lots of monies in this country. Whether we use them the right way is another issue altogether.
Well, quite very many other interesting stories in all these three newspapers, but of course we know there is a lot trending on the international scene. Yes, Scotland is going to the polls tomorrow for a referendum. This is sending ripples across the world. People in Zanzibar are asking, so if Scotland says yes, we soon should be pushing for a referendum. Others in such strange unions are also saying, do we need to remain in a union or should we follow what these guys in Scotland are planning to do? Brian, there's a lot more that's happening on the international scene, including President Obama declaring that America is sending some boots on the ground in West Africa to fight Ebola. So if you thought that Uganda is the only one that sends military men to handle beauty pageants, agricultural advisory services and the like, think again. But what else is trending on the international scene?
Well, thank you so much, Simon. I will start with Scotland. It's a day to the referendum. What is the referendum about? Scotland will decide whether it will be independent from the UK. What does this mean? People have looked at the economic implication of this, but opinion polls keep giving different results. The first day, the Yes campaign has it. The next day, the No campaign has it. And now, the latest is that the Scots are unclear over no vote powers. They're actually unclear of what will be given to them. Others are still unclear of whether Scotland will keep the pound as their official currency. So, lots of stuff to look at. Sky News here. You can check out that page. But also something interesting, some major stats down here. Let me just pull those for you. It's about, just hold on. All right. Some 80% of yes voters said they were clear over whether Scotland will keep the pound. Also, about 33% were unclear whether they actually want to remain with the UK. So by the end of the referendum, we may actually see that maybe Scotland needs to stay with the UK. The Yes campaign is saying maybe they are better together. So Prime Minister Cameron yesterday appealing to businessmen or Scottish veterans, telling them that you will go our yes. That is permanent. Please let us stick together and let's take this forward. So we'll be following that story very soon, but check out Sky News for more details. And Simon Kasiate was talking about Obama sending troops to Africa. He has declared Ebola a global security threat. And he's sending about 3,000 boots to Liberia. Now, these 3,000 troops are going to build 17 Ebola treatment centers, and which will house about 100 beds each of the 17 Ebola centers. So that's about 1,700 beds that are going to be put there. Very good stuff. There also China is going to be sending a mobile lab for Ebola. Yes, and the world is really helping out. The spread of the disease means that the funds needed to fight the outbreak have increased tenfold in the past month. The UN Ebola coordinator saying that it is about $1 billion to fight. We'll be following that story very closely. Also still out of Africa on the BBC page, South Sudan bans foreign aid workers amid aid crisis. Now, you know this has escalated from December. Lots of Ugandans that were trapped there. Actually, my in-law also trapped there. And it was very hard. Traders, up to now, some of the traders asking for their money to be paid. Talks have been, happening, but of course each side not honoring them. Now, South Sudan says that it is going to issue notices to certain foreign workers to get out of their country, especially when it comes to jobs like secretaries, receptionists, executive directors. Those should be occupied by South Sudanese nationals in the future. Well, maybe some of our countries need to borrow a leaf. But is that the smart move at this point in time? And aid agencies saying that that may, kind of disrupt and may cause a huge impact on aid programs in South Sudan. You can be the one to decide. Check out BBC News and follow that story. Meet Africa's richest man. Aliko Dangote. Forbes magazine ranks him as the continent's richest man, and looking at his investments, about $25 billion. He's the richest in Africa. He's the 23rd in the whole world. And you can listen to him on Al Jazeera about his secrets on what has made him successful. And of course, we're still following the ISIS story very closely, and a fixer recounts how ISIS abducted him and Stephen Sotloff. Stephen Sotloff was the second journalist who was beheaded by ISIS, and what a tragedy, what a tragedy. And of course, the US saying it will make sure that the perpetrators of this crime will pay heavily. Now, the guy who used to work very closely with this journalist, recounting how they were abducted, about 15 masked ISIS fighters just jumped out of their cars and took them, and from then a tale that they will live to regret. And of course, tale started, and we're seeing more of these videos released every day. Actually, YouTube has blocked some of those accounts that distribute them. Twitter is blocking anyone who shares a video of the people who were beheaded. News agencies like CNN are not showing that video, and it's very, very sad. Of course, I will be following also that closely. Check out CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, Reuters, Sky, all these news agencies across the whole world, and find out the latest on what's happening in the international scene. Get over to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and download our new app, NTV Mobi. You can check out Morris Mugisha here telling you you can catch NTV in your lounge, your new sitting room. Robin Kirsty here in the taxi. You can catch NTV Mobi wherever you are. Wow, brilliant app, I'm telling you. I'm watching news at home on this app. Yeah, in the Matatu, we are celebrating 8 years and we have gone Mobi. Any place can now be your sitting room with NTV. Stay with us. When we come back, the big story. Good morning.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
Babe, you know you are truly an angel.
Aww.
I love your walk, your smile, your laugh, everything. You know what else, babe?
What?
You smell. Oh no, I'm out of airtime. Shops are closed. I have to wait till tomorrow before I can get airtime. She'll think I was saying she smells.
Get airtime instantly with your phone.
What?
Just use Airtel Money. Dial *185 hash, select buy airtime, and follow the steps.
What?
Sorry, babe. My line got cut. I was just saying you smell better than any flower in the world.
Top up with Airtel Money and get 100% bonus airtime instantly with every top-up made. Now that's 100% extra from Airtel. Dial *185 hash to top up now.
Airtel Money. Simple, secure, instant.
We transact every day, and for centuries, currencies have changed hands. Business is a must, and that is why Money Matters makes it a must to talk business.
The biggest market out in Uganda because of East African connections and business.
From farming to business trading, we give you all the angles.
When you're harvesting, that one is the most important part, which we have to be there.
We'll bring you all the details that doing business has to offer.
Thoughts of the business leaders in the market.
The airline industry doesn't operate like any other industry, where you go in and buy a shirt and this shirt is 20 shillings today, it will be 20 shillings tomorrow, 20 shillings.
The analysis of the costs and the income in the industries. From wherever we are, we talk business, and at Money Matters, where money indeed matters. Business is a must.
So, don't miss talking business with us every Thursday only on NTV.
Coming soon on NTV.
East or west, they say home is best. Welcome to the Property Show, where we bring you an inspired world of real estate. We mirror the very essence of true architectural art. Wander with us about the world's best properties and count down with us the properties of the week.
The Property Show brings you beautiful spaces, exquisite construction ideas, easy style interior designing, and we bring you up to date with the industry. It's fresh, it's inspiring, it's The Property Show.
Coming soon on NTV. You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
And it's exactly 12 minutes on to 8 p.m. You're watching Morning at NTV. Feel free to get onto our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. And of course, you can tweet us at Morning at NTV. Of course, correction, it's 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Yes, I probably need some coffee. As I head over to the guys, Simon Kasete starting by with the big story. Good morning, Simon.
Yes, good morning, Brian. On this wonderful Wednesday morning, it's actually going to get bloody on the show, just in case you did not know. And it's going to get bloody literally. Not that we're going to pull collars or anything, but yes, we'll be discussing blood. You know that this country almost was plunged into a terror attack, and that, of course, means devastating effects, including not limited the loss of life, but also tremendous injuries that may require blood. We are beginning to get tremendous highways and boulevards, but for the most part, these have become death traps where accidents are the talk of the day, meaning we require blood transfusion services. This is a country that continues to be bedeviled by severe anemia and malaria, sickle cell anemia, and all other forms of blood deficiencies. That means we require blood. Our population is increasing, our population is growing, and many a times we are in need of blood. But we have that blood. That is the question we're discussing on the big story today, and that's why I call it Bloody Wednesday. Welcome back on this, indeed, Bloody Wednesday, and we're talking about blood and the availability of which, or the absence of which, and I have the pleasure to host Mr. Michael Mukundane, who is the coordinator for the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services for the Central Region. Good morning and welcome to the big story.
Good morning, Mr. Kaseta.
Yes. Michael, tell me, to what extent are we, as I speak now, with regard to the availability of blood for those that require it across the country?
Yes. We are very prepared. We are always prepared because we go out every day to collect blood. We carry out campaigns on blood donation in different areas. We have drives every other time. Yeah, 2 weeks ago we had the mega drive at Constitutional Square, supported by Crane Bank, and we collected a lot of blood.
Where a lot of blood is how many liters? You count them in pints,
yes,
or units?
As blood collection, as a blood bank, we have targets, and these targets are cascaded down to each team, and we have 21 teams in the country. Each team is charged to collect 45 units of blood every day.
Wow.
So that's our target we aim to achieve, and every day we collect, we make sure we keep replenishing our blood banks, because as we collect, they take. The other day we had a mega drive in Mayuge Sugar Industries. We collected over 1,000 units of blood.
Wow.
That is like a week ago. But you know, blood has a shelf life.
That's number one, but we also know that not all the blood collected is certainly fit for human consumption, so to speak. That much of the blood you pick from some people has more alcohol than should be required, has got a few insects left, right, and center. And so that's what brings me to the question that you, as the blood transfusion services, you do distribute about 200,000 units across the country per year. Am I right?
You're very right.
With all this mega collection that you get, meeting your targets in terms of the amount or the quantity of blood, when we get down to the testing and checking the quality, do we actually meet our targets even qualitatively?
Qualitatively we do, because we have the modern testing equipment on the world scene. It is
You
one
don't,
of
get
the
my,
best.
you don't get my question, Michael. I'm saying you have the best facilities to test, yes.
Yes.
Let's say you've collected 1,000 pints of blood.
Yes.
And you've subjected them to your wonderful state-of-the-art machines.
Yes.
How much do you get on the other end, as being properly?
We only lose like 0.5%.
Oh, really?
Only 0.5%. Surprisingly, the blood donor community and the individuals and the groups of people who come, they really feel, they are very confident that they are really very safe. By the time you make a decision to give
a
this
pint
unit of blood, you've really convinced yourself that my blood is safe and I can share it with the patient.
And that I can replenish it because I am physically fit.
Definitely. And you know, ours is safe blood saves lives. And we have certain processes. We definitely do pre-donation counseling. We give health education talks about blood donation and safe blood donation in particular. And we sieve and sort. We do physical examinations, we do all that to ensure that at least we minimize the risks. And as such, we take blood that is safe.
Oh, that sounds very good. We
and
know
we lose less.
We know that 60% of this blood goes to children with severe anemia due to malaria, sickle cell, and other conditions, including and not limited to malnutrition. We also know that 30% of this blood that you collect goes to mothers with complications in pregnancy and childbirth, and we know that 10% of this goes to accident victims, medical and surgical cases.
Yes.
With this kind of breakdown, is there a way that possibly some of this demographic could change for the better, that now you have less children in dire need of blood simply because there is about more health being taken care of in their homes and the like?
Yes, it could change. If, for instance, we fought malaria, because malaria is a major cause of severe anemia in children, in pregnant mothers. So if malaria could be fought under the primary health care, chances are that we shall have less people requiring blood. And they would require blood for complicated cases, like heart surgeries, you know, maybe like for sickle cell anemia and other transplants, like in the developed countries. But here, the biggest number of severe anemia is the result of malaria. Malnutritional diseases, intestinal worms. This cause severe anemia. If we improved in those areas, we would have less pressure on blood going to children and mothers.
Let's look at the shelf life of blood, for that matter. We know that, of course, blood has a very delicate shelf life and needs to be taken very good care of.
Yes.
How long does a pint of blood stay in your bank?
35 days. 35 days. After that, cannot be of use.
There's no interest accrued on that.
Yes, and it's the reason every other day, as a national blood bank with its teams and the regional blood banks, go out every other day to collect blood.
Where do we stand, Michael? Is there a total, do we get a depletion of your reserves in the blood bank to such an extent that sometimes you find yourself without blood? Or do we also find ourselves in times where 35 days click and we are incinerating millions and millions of liters of blood?
No. Unfortunately, we really don't incinerate blood as a result of expiry. Rarely do you get like 1 unit expiry, because the demand is really like higher than the supply. We collect, we test, the hospitals take. But we have tried by all means to increase on our publicity, on our sensitization, and our education.
And your synergies.
And increase on the strategies and to bring modern strategies of blood donor recruitment to ensure that we have blood available all the time.
At the risk of sounding vain,
in some instances, blood shortages in the past, for instance, have been as a result of schools going on holidays, because our biggest blood donor base, catchment area, are the schools. And when they get on holiday, especially in the long recess term,
especially
of December, of December, January, up to the
a bit of
Feb, part of Feb, like the 15 days in Feb, we've been having some challenges. But we have also come up with strategies.
This is also the time when accidents are more prevalent, when there's a lot of reckless living and people really need a lot of blood.
But we have devised new strategies of ensuring that we don't get to that. We now pre-plan and plan ahead and make sure we are ready.
You bleed these students twice.
Not really. We have changed our strategy. We want to be more in the non-school going communities, sensitize them, as opposed to the past culture whereby we have to be in schools, such that we can bridge this gap. And now we have a program in place. I want to use this opportunity,
maybe through you, to thank the guy who heads your blood transfusion services in the Ginger area. When we had a huge golf tournament, we did synchronize and liaise with him, and his team was on the ground and was taking blood from the golfers that were coming inside to play. And I must inform you that our chief guest, the Honorable Yabagambi, that day did donate a pint of blood. His son, who is 12 years old, attempted to donate blood, and he was kicked out for being a lot younger than is required. That, for me, was a good move, that you can call on the blood transfusion service and say, look, I have got a gathering of 200 people, and I believe if you put up a facility here, you possibly can get 45 pints of blood. And I want to believe that they must have hit their target that day, or possibly even gone ahead.
Yeah, that's very good.
Going to that, Ugandans are many times averse to the whole issue of blood donation. Why? Because it's been associated with the contamination of bodies and causing disease for the most part. We need reassurance that I would not get a complication as a result of taking blood that has been negligently passed as fit for consumption when it actually isn't.
like I told you from the beginning, that we ensure quality at every level of blood collection, right from selection of blood donors.
So what happens to that blood that eventually is responsible for some inflictions on people's health? Do they pick it from the Kenyan blood bank?
No, but of course, like you know, we have a window period. Sometimes an infection can be in the window period and may not be detected there and then.
In the blood?
In the blood. You know, and that is why blood transfusion is a conservative treatment. It is done as a last resort when all other alternatives have failed. It is true, blood can carry infections. And these blood donors,
it always does, but you screen it out.
With these blood donors, we even inform them right from the time they have come to donate through pre-donation counseling. But what we make sure we do is that by the time a unit of blood gets out of the blood bank, we have ensured its safety at 100%.
However, let's look at HIV/AIDS, which has got a window period. Even take 3 months, where you are unable to detect it.
But you know, we have a very good architect equipment that reduces the window period to about 5 days.
So you are able.
So and with our screening, where we take the potential donor through pre-donation counseling, we rely heavily on the honesty of this donor. If he tells us, for instance...
You know how honest we Ugandans sometimes can be.
Yeah.
Or possibly some people use blood donation drives as another way of testing their sero status. You've heard about that?
Yeah, we've heard about it, but we discourage it definitely. And every time we screen, usually we are able to detect that this blood is not suitable for transfusion, and this one is. But we make sure that our blood is 100% safe.
Michael, as we conclude this program, of course, we do not know how many people are in Uganda, given that the census results are not yet out. We are always wallowing between 34 million, but I suspect it could even be more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm being presumptuous to ask you, how much amount of blood does a country like Uganda require at any one single time, and do you have it?
We have been determining the need of blood depending on the previous consumption, previous use of blood. And every time every year we make an increment of 10%, basing on the previous blood utilization in the health facilities.
So
we've been targeting collecting 250,000 units of blood per annum.
Okay.
And every day, apparently, when we set our targets, is that each team is supposed to collect 1,000 units of blood every day. And every day we distribute about 700 to 800 units of blood today. But, you know, with increasing demand for blood due to many accidents, malaria increasing, and, you know, all these other cases that require transfusion, the need keeps increasing. And that is why we are also intensifying our campaigns in blood collection.
That's why you're here for Bloody Wednesday
now. And that is why I would love you to see NTV call me now. Say, we've mobilized. Can we have the blood?
Can we have the blood?
And all these institutions, call us. Let them be part of us. It's not a one-man show. It's not UBTS show. People must join us. We collect lots of blood to meet the population's needs. And with these incidents
I have
is
the
coming
pleasure
up.
to inform you that, well, the company I work for after here, ESCOM, every single year we've got a huge blood donation drive. In fact, we've got a designated officer at ESCOM who, part of her key research areas is to ensure that she liaises with the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services to ensure that there is that constant supply of blood. Because, of course, you know,
we are very grateful. We are very grateful for ESCOM in Ginger.
Yes,
we are very grateful.
And we cannot afford to be a non-responsible corporate citizen. But let's move away from that and look at blood. Many people talk about blood as if it were a homogeneous kind of liquid. I mean, coffee is coffee. But of course, there are also different types of coffee. There's mocha, there's espresso, there's all that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be collecting blood, but it could be someone with a blood combination like myself who's a blood group O rhesus positive. I know that I'm a universal donor, but I am a very limited recipient. I can only receive from those with rhesus O positive. Do you, for the most part, receive blood that is able to cater for all the people with their different blood groups, to the extent that you don't have people dying as a result of not having the blood that matches their genotype?
Definitely. The O is a universal donor.
Without a doubt.
So every time, and the biggest population, surprisingly, in the country has O. So every time there is an emergency, an O is given. When there is an emergency, O is given. But it is also very important that we give blood that is compatible with one's blood straight. I know O is compatible to everyone, but if I'm A+, if I received A+ and it is available in the blood bank, it's okay. But in cases where A+ is not there, my life should be saved very fast.
By O. Now, supposing me of O, I am in the dire need of blood, and all there is people like you with the A+, AB, AB, even those with the D, E, and C. How do you handle that kind of situation? What does it look like when you are at the central division and questions or demands are coming in from across the country for the need of that particular rare species?
Surprisingly, O is always available. O is always available. People can always get blood group O because the majority have it. These other groups do not have bigger percentages, but O is always available. And we get it from voluntary, non-remunerated blood donors. We even have a data bank. In cases of not having a unit in there, we shall call. We have a data bank of blood donors, very prepared. We call these good volunteers, good Samaritans, ready to help. They donate this unit of blood.
Michael Mkunda, it wouldn't have been a better way to put a cap to our discussion this wonderful morning, which I did tell the viewers indeed was going to be bloody, and that's why you realize the word blood appeared in almost every sentence of the 1 million sentences we just spewed out in the last 20 minutes. Let's take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says. Every one of us, if you cut yourself, there is a red fluid flowing out of your body. It doesn't matter whether you are the president, part of the royal family, or a vagabond, or one of those that can be best described as the wretched of the earth. What does that mean? That we are all the same with one universal need, and that is blood at the time when we actually don't have it flowing in our veins, the absence of which certainly means the absence of life. Many a times, inevitably, we find ourselves in situations where we need blood, or maybe one of our kith or kin. The question is, would you ever forgive yourself if you're blotting with blood and several people out there, including those known and unknown to you, are in dire need of blood and you're just keeping it to yourself? Let's use this Bloody Wednesday, as I've called it, the 17th day of September 2014, to look into ourselves and make the firm decision that you will begin, you and I, to share that blood that we have with many Ugandans and non-Ugandans who could be in the dire need of this blood. Because after all, you never know when you and I will need that life-saving pint of blood. Have a wonderful and productive Wednesday morning. God bless. Let's continue on the program. More interesting episodes yet to come your way, including and not limited to everyday life, and of course, the sporty section with Isma and crew.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
We could do this all night. We could do this all
Guess what show just won Best Entertainment Program?
Log in for the glitz and glamour of Kampala's most flamboyant people and events.
I'm here today for Coco Fingers video shoot.
Big up NTV, thanks for the support. Log in, ndiwa nole ronzi zeko kakasa.
You're Golfy and you're watching Login.
Don't touch that dial, you know what I'm saying. It's log in.
We could do this all night. We could do this all night.
Obonyumirwa ebyemizannyo jangu nkulage.
Does! And Adam Johnson, the boyhood Newcastle United man, historic, flying in the face of all football logic. A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie. Ferdinand! Everton lead at Old Trafford. Walcott, Giroud! Brilliant by Suarez. Super Suarez. and backs it up. And cracks it in. Checo finds the net. It's spectacular style. Penalty for Borussia Dortmund. And he scores. Beautifully from the back line.
Welcome to Jazz with Isaiah, a musical venture that is entertaining,
I'm a prisoner, you're a prisoner too.
educative,
It is not about just standing on stage.
informative,
Jazz is a type of music from the African American background.
and inspiring.
I have a goal of breaking it down.
My name is Cox, aka Mr. Showbiz.
Hey, today listen when I'm in Uganda. I only listen to DJ Baby Love.
When you're dancing on the light, girl walk out, your body down no fly, your fingernail them no fear fly.
You have a problem with it?
No, I ain't got no problem.
You don't use my mic, man. This is exposed mic.
I go deal with you personally.
XFB, it's officially back. Yeah, I'm in this heaty with cats. It's what we do, baby. Put UG on the map. Now come out, whoa. Now come out, whoa. Now come out, whoa. Now come out, whoa. Hey.
Tadi Muganda yagala munne kututumuka abanyankole mweyagalidde mu Kampala abajja okulonda mwafunamu bibanja mu Uganda.
I'm that dude, so they come and love it.
You're going to start paying for watching Exposed.
I wasn't born last night. I know these hoes ain't right.
"20 entrepreneurs. 20 companies compete to get the funding. From different skills and experience with different ideas. Who will it be? On Kickstart, proudly presented by Now Breweries. Coming soon on NTV.
ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo embeera mw'okolera ebyobufuzi ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi ebyogerwa tebiyita tuusa eddoboozi lyo yogera naffe buli lwakuna otereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
On the next episode of...
Get it from the market. And if you take her name once more, I will use that repellent on you to clean your brain, understand?
I'll go with you and apologize to them for breaking their trust.
Shut your mouth. Don't you even dare think of apologizing to anybody. Why would you apologize? It is all her fault.
What do you mean, Ankita? You think I'll take such an important decision without me thinking over it?
Is it for Sandhya or for yourself?
You can download movies at the lowest prices another fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
15 after 8 and we're still here at the Serena Conference Center. It's Morning at NTV, most awesome breakfast experience on TV right now. And now upgrading it with something brand new, which we are going to find out in a couple of minutes. Joining me is Herbert Odanke. Good morning.
Good morning,
saying
sir.
He's the most handsome man at NTV.
Definitely.
A marketing genius. Morning, man.
Our TV was devoid of handsomeness.
Herbert is the marketing manager at NTVUganda. Herbert, we hear a lot of noise around town. NTV. We see beautiful cars. Really? What's happening? What's happening?
Amazing. Yes, NTV is making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 years. And with that, we want to celebrate with the audiences. Of course, it's no longer a new story. It's obvious. And we have so many things we want to give to our viewers. We want to interact with our viewers. We want to ensure that you come and celebrate with us because the D-Day is the 18th of December.
That's when NTV is officially turning 8 years.
Exactly. So we have 3 months of celebration.
You have Kasiki party.
These are all Kasikis. The big day is not yet, yet coming. Now, we have 8 hampers to be won, 8 prizes every other day. All you need to do is do what? Watch NTV.
Really?
Yes, just watch NTV. When you watch NTV, you'll get, there's a secret code that will keep appearing every 15 minutes. Just get it, put it down either on your smartphone or a katochi. That means everybody can participate, people like you. And then send it to 6666. Repeat that for me.
666, quadruple 6.
Exactly. That is a unique code that is going to appear on the screen.
Right.
Yep.
I see a bike here. They just put a bike here. I cannot ride a bike, but let me probably, for swagger, let me just hold this. Yes,
now,
so that...
just to add on that, among the prizes, among the many prizes that we are going to give out, we are going to give out a brand new, branded bike. We are giving it every other day for the next 100 days. So how many bikes are those?
So that's 100 bikes.
Those are 100 bikes.
Wow. When does this start?
It starts now. It starts now.
Hey,
the codes are going to
today?
start, yes, the codes are going to start flying and people should continue watching NTV.
Wow.
Exactly.
So that's 100 bicycles.
Exactly.
In 100 days.
With other hampers.
And every day you give out 8 hampers.
8 hampers.
What do the hampers have?
The hampers have everything. That is a secret. They are big. You will see them because we shall have a live show every other day. Every day we shall have a live show to give out. But this one will be given to the NTV viewer of the day.
Who is the NTV viewer of the day?
The guy who participates the most, the guy who watches every other 15 minutes. So what happens is you continue winning first hamper, second hamper, and the 8th hamper is going to be this.
Wow.
Yeah.
So whoever has gotten all the codes.
Not all the codes.
Oh, because it's a draw.
It's a draw because you see, you keep participating and you stand a chance of winning.
Right. Now, we've also been hearing about the NTV Mobi. People are asking me, what is this? Simanyova Android 2.0 and Android 4.0. Why are you putting it only on Android? Where do I get it? Is it for buying? What is NTV Mobi?
In 2006, when NTV started, it was analog. But times have changed. The viewers out there are now technologically savvy. I don't know whether you're technologically
as well, I have
but
a
I can
phone.
see you have
Okay,
a phone,
sikange, but
now,
yeah.
okay, now what happens is you just download this app. We have what we call NTV Mobi, which is the latest, sleekest, free, uptime TV viewing. Because you see, we want productivity.
Yes.
NTV stands for innovation and productivity, and we want people to continue working, either driving a taxi, whatever they are doing, wherever they are, including even in the loose, you can even have your TV
You
and
can
watch
you
your
can
kaunges.
pull a number 2 while
or
watching Frank Warusi.
Exactly, or you even watch your morning show. So we are saying you can download it from the Apple Store for free, and they're just simple steps. What you do is you download. There are simple steps to follow. You register because we need to understand you.
Yes.
And then after that, you receive an activation code. That is the code that you use then to start your NTV. All you need are just simple MBs.
So registration at first,
and
then there I just tap
the next will just
app
be seamlessly flowing. You just take a koboti, you see Brian Mulondo.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you are lucky, you find Herbert there being hosted in the morning.
Hey, okay. Yeah. So any last words to our viewers? What should they expect? You know, these celebrations, what does it mean for NTV as you as the leadership? Where are we going?
We want to thank the viewers who have made us who we are. 8 years is not a simple thing. Just imagine, I have an 8-year-old daughter. I know how I connect with her. So our viewers, you have made us who we are. We are 8 years old, and we want to thank you, and thank you for making us the #1 station in this country.
All right.
And we shall continue engaging with you.
Herbert, thank you so much for joining us.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Well, I'll leave this here because I am still getting lessons on how to ride a bike. But it's 100 bikes in 100 days and 8 hampers every day, courtesy of NTV. We are turning 8. 18th December is our birthday, official birthday. Make sure you get on with us, get on the move, and get NTV Mobi today. My guest today on the show has NTV Mobi. We're going to look at how you can keep your eyes healthy today on Healthy Wednesday, coming up on Everyday Life. Morning. Twenty-one after 8, thank you so much for staying with us. It's a beautiful, slightly overcast morning here at Serena, and every Wednesday we talk about your health. And joining me this morning is M. Kanji, the Managing Director of City Optics. Good morning.
Habari. Good morning.
Habari Muzuri. I heard you saying that you have downloaded NTV Mobi.
Just when I was entering NTV and read the news, and after that they said, download NTV Mobi, and that's what I did.
Fantastic. Well, today, first of all, City Optics has been there for a very long time. How long has, for the benefit of our viewers, how long have you been in the business of?
I qualified in 1973 in the UK.
Wow.
And worked there for 6 years. After that, being a Kenyan, I returned back home and opened the doors in 1981.
Wow, here?
In Nairobi, Kenya.
Nairobi.
Due to the demands of contact lens fitting and lack of professionals here in Uganda, I was doing locum in 1990 to 1992, fitting contact lenses at Mulago Hospital.
Okay.
Special cases. Thereafter, in 92, we opened a branch here, and to date we have 4 optical branches in Uganda and 2 in Kenya.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
In all the years of experience you've had, what are the common eye problems that you have treated?
A very common eye problems in Uganda is pink eyes. That's what we call in a layman's language. The pink eyes is the redness of the eye which comes due to allergies. comes due to lack of hygiene, comes due to living near the lake. So there are a lot of different reasons why you get pink eyes. And that is very common amongst our young Ugandans who are still schooling. Okay. And I've seen a lot of young adults having pink eyes, especially in Uganda. What is the reason? It's a little surprising, but Uganda has a lot of problems with what we call conjunctivitis, allergic conjunctivitis.
What exactly is that?
Allergic conjunctivitis, as I told you, is pink eyes. People's symptoms are red eyes, scratchy eyes, dry eyes, and lack of concentration because of the uncomfortness in the eyes.
When I was in school, I remember I studied about two conditions, long-sightedness and short-sightedness. Now you've just talked about pink eyes. Explain to us these particular conditions.
There are various kinds of conditions which are set in different categories. There is a refractive error which you call short-sighted, long-sighted, presbyope, astigmatic. Those are all the condition of the makeup of the eye. Normally the cornea of the eye is like a football, very round. But sometimes because of the makeup of DNA, the cornea becomes more elliptical. And in that case, you get a very distorted vision behind the eye.
Ideally, it should be round.
Ideally, man-made perfect eye is round, and it has got a specific length from the front of the eye to the back of the eye. Now, sometimes if you get taller or shorter, then the eye responds
according to your height.
Yes.
Wow.
And other aspects like your food intake, health-wise, your DNA, your hereditary makeup, all that plays a part in the refractive error. Now what we do, we check what type of refractive error you have, and we correct you as accordingly to your prescription and make glasses. So there is one aspect of the makeup of the eye where it's a refractive error, and the second aspect is the pathology of the eye, whether you have infection, whether you have external infection, whether you have internal infection. Then it comes to age-related infections and age-related eye diseases.
Wow. I see you when you're doing your tests, you make people wear some like gadgets on their eyes.
Yeah.
How do you diagnose these conditions?
When a patient comes in, he already knows what his problem is. He says, I can't see well, or he says, I'm getting headaches when I'm on the computer, or he says that I can't read, or he says that my eyes are hurting. So subjective conversation with the patient tells us a lot. 50% of the symptoms are being told by the patient himself.
Yeah.
Then we make him sit, we do an external check with the torch, then we take an ophthalmoscope and check the internal of the eye, and then we take the slit lamp and check the organs of the eye, and then finally, as you put it, we put those funny gadgets on top of the eye, and we do a trial fitting of the lens in front of him, and to ask him whether he sees this clearly or not. In the end, we also do an auto-refractometer, which the auto gives us a starting point. So all that is a consulting room diagnosis, and we can, if it's a refractive error, we treat him with glasses. If it is other related eye diseases, then we either give them eye drops or refer to an ophthalmologist in Mango or Mulago.
Okay, I've seen, you know, of course, some people here do a lot of self-medication. Yeah, where you get eye drops. Are there particular eye drops you can recommend to people? Or, you know, the best thing, of course, is to just go to an optician, get diagnosed. And
always there is a first aid at home. So people normally who are well educated in the medical side, they normally keep very mild eye drops which are anti-inflammatory, or they are antibiotics with a broad spectrum cure. Those people who are very educated or know a little bit of the medical side, they do keep that as a first aid kit.
Right.
But my advice, of course, is to first go and rush to the optician, who will then refer you to the right people and to be treated immediately.
In the care for eyes, we've also been told that sometimes we just don't eat the right food for our eyes. So with time, they get damaged.
Yes, like every other organs of the body, you have to eat right, and you have to be careful what you put on your plate. For eyes, of course, you need vitamin A and vitamin C rich foods, like leafy green vegetables, like carrots, oranges, all those citric fruits are all those which looks after your eyes, and you just have one pair of eyes. So my advice to the people is to look after them and have the right intake of the balanced food.
Right. If you're just joining us, it's Healthy Wednesday, and I'm with Doctor. Mister. So you're not called doctors?
No. The optometrists and opticians are not called doctor. Only the ophthalmologists are called doctors.
Are doctors. All right. Good information there. M. Kanji, who is the managing director of City Optics, this morning telling us about our eyes. You've seen some of the footage on your screen where they're fitting a lady with those gadgets, probably flashing a torch. There's also this thing, and you tell us about it, where you put a board with letters of the alphabet, and someone is like maybe 10 feet away. Is that also part of the treatment?
You see, what you call a board is called a Snellen chart in our language.
As
Snellen chart.
Snellen chart.
Snellen chart. And those letters are measured for a particular distance. If the room is small, then you use a smaller letter measurements. If the room is big and you want a bigger area, then you use a larger one. So there is an optimum average size of the letter which a hemotropic or a person with normal eyes could see.
Okay.
So we take that particular size and put it on front of the patient to read. And if he doesn't read that normal size letters, then something is wrong with his eyes. And accordingly, we check and give him the prescription for glasses. So those are called Snellen charts, and now they come in much more advanced way where we reflect it on the computer rather than sticking it on the wall.
Oh, all right. You now have laser treatment, I think.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What does it entail, and update us on the latest developments in Uganda.
Laser treatment is one of the best things which has ever happened in the eye section. Laser treatment can also cure a refractive error. What laser treatment does, it uses powerful lights to cure the disfigure of your cornea. As I told you, it depends on the makeup of your cornea.
Yeah.
If it is not like a football, then you have a problem. If it is elliptical like a rugby ball, then you need glasses. So what laser does is it reshapes the cornea and it gets rid of the glasses, and people who are sportsmen, people who are swimmers, people who don't want glasses can have laser treatment. Fortunately,
so the light kind of bends it back.
Bends it back and folds it in its proper shape.
In the ball shape.
In the cornea, yeah.
Wow.
But apart from that, the laser has gone even more advanced, and it also corrects and replaces the cataract by replacing the crystalline lens inside the eye without any cuts. So a patient has a laser treatment and the lens, crystalline lens from inside is taken out and replaced by a new crystalline lens so he can see. Majority of the people living in villages in East African countries are blinded because of old age cataracts. And it is very, very much treatable. And people think it is a culture that has been having a problem and he cannot be cured. But it's such a simple LASIK operation that you will be surprised that the patient can walk out within half an hour.
Wow.
And seeing the best of vision.
Awesome. Lastly, are there basic tips you can tell us right now to just help keep our eyesight sharp and clear?
The biggest problem which youngsters are facing now is the wrong posture on the computer screen. People have suffered a lot. I see a lot of youngsters with eye strain, with backaches, with headaches, and this is entirely due to the monitor. It's the way how you sit, it's the way the distance you keep your monitor.
Between you and the monitor.
Between and the monitor, the level of the monitor should be slightly lower. You got to have anti-reflection glasses. You got to take a break after half an hour and see things in far, or just walk out from the computer screen. Don't just get glued and spend hours and hours of your time on the computer. This is the biggest problem with the eye. People are suffering from eyes these days. And our intake of patients has doubled, tripled over the last few years. And this is due entirely because the computer is the book, the computer is the pen, and the computer is the norm of the day.
It's everything.
So people are suffering left, right, and center. Before, during my early ages, it was hereditary. People used to suffer because of the makeup of the DNA. People used to suffer because it continued from father to son. Short-sightedness, myopia, hypermetropia, presbyopia, all those were the makeup of the DNA. Now it's to do with your lifestyle. Even kids are playing the games for hours and things like that. And they really have an eye strain. So visit your optician every once a year, have your eyes checked, discipline yourself as far as what you are eating and as far as the way you are working on your computer.
All right. M. Kanji, thank you so much for joining us. Next time we'll look at how you can choose the right lens for your eyes, because I also know some people will go on the street of Kampala, buy any lens they want, and then, try and put them on. Also, people who wear frames that have lenses and think they are probably looking like professors or rich men, yet you're actually putting your eyes in trouble. So, M. Kanji, you'll be back and explain to us about that. Well, make sure you talk about this on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and of course at Morning at NTV on Twitter. Feel free to tag me at MBGold2. We'll put up some of those images on our YouTube channel too. Now, standing by is Isma. A very disappointing game last night. Arsenal, someone has just said about Silver Welbeck. What is your view about last night's game, Isma?
I don't think Welbeck was the only problem. Though he missed 3 clear-cut chances that you would back him to bury, or a better striker to bury, I thought Arsenal were pathetic. To think that they conceded only 2 goals, and Wojciech Szczesny was the best player on the pitch for the Arsenal. That tells you a bit about how poor Arsenal were on the night. And there will be a lot of reviews about this one, because that was as poor a performance as Arsenal has had in Europe in recent years. But there was a big one for Real Madrid as they won against Basel by 5-1. We also talk about Liverpool. I don't think they deserve to win. But eventually they got those 3 points, and they'll be very pleased with the amount of work they've done already. And there's a lot more. There's Manchester City against Bayern Munich later tonight. There's also Chelsea, who tend to always get the easy draws in the Champions League. I'll tell you why, Brian.
Well, stay with us. It's 23 on to 9 a.m. We'll be right back.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
The official sponsor of the Uganda Cranes football team.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be around.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes.
You raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV. On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
He gives it a nice one.
Omupiira guno bagwogerera bati omusajja agenda nakwasa pressure naga nti goal ate nga si goal.
Absolutely brilliant.
Tugenda kuba tukuba mu kulwali n'abatuuze be twakyalira abeewampewo ettako mu bbakuba wabula ntubawona ekimeme y'embuzi koona.
You can download movies at the lowest prices another fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Minutes on to 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for staying with us. And I know some of you probably leave your home and you missed this show. Some of you are trying to stream on YouTube. We have about more than 1,000 views on YouTube. The rest of you keep asking me, Brian, how can we catch the latest shows? Well, the YouTube channel is set up, Morning at NTV. But now, the latest in town, you can download NTV Mobi on your Android smartphone and catch NTV wherever you are, whether in a taxi, whether in a stadium like Isma in the soccer field, you can watch him live. I've never seen you smile like that.
By the way, if I manage that smile again, must be quite an occasion, eh?
Right.
Like NTV Mobi, must be quite an occasion.
Yeah. It was really you are...
Probably at my wedding I'll smile better, but I won't be wearing a t-shirt. I'll probably wear a tie that day because I don't wear a tie like you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the secret when we're off the stage at some point.
Catch NTV Mobi. We're celebrating 100 years here at NTV. And to do that, 100 bikes in 100 days and 8 gift hampers every day. To our lucky winners, there'll be a secret code on your screen. Make sure you watch it every 15 minutes. We'll be flashing it on your screen. And you can send it to quadruple 6 and join us as we celebrate 8. Isma, this morning we'll start with basketball. How prepared is the ladies team ahead of the FIBA, it's FUBA? FIBA, Zone 5 Championship.
I think Brian yesterday must have discussed the men's team at length while I was away. But the women's team isn't as organized as the men because they've had a bit of problems in terms of preparation. Some of the players who are part of this team are supposed to be traveling to Brazil for the World Championship 3-on-3. And some of those players are not part of this team, especially Morina Moding, a former MVP. I won't be with the team when they get the FIBA Africa Zone 5 Nations Championship in Lugogo from Sunday. So that's a bit of a problem for them. He's been the #1 shooting guard for Uganda for the past 4 or 5 years, so it's a big hole to fill. And also on the other hand, Coach Timothy Odeke must also fill the gap of Peace Proscovia. The reigning MVP is part of the netball team that we are going to be talking about shortly, that is away in Botswana playing the World Cup qualifiers. So she won't be here in time for the start of the tournament because they're still competing down in Gaborone. I've got to say that without those two, they might struggle at the start of the tournament, but eventually, if there is any coach who can pull off a miracle in Uganda, it's got to be Timothy Odeke. I always tell him that he's the kind of chef who goes into the kitchen with fish and emerges with chicken, who goes into the kitchen with fish and returns with chicken. That's how good a coach I rate him. So if it's someone who can turn this around, with all the things that have not worked for the team. Even if they had Lina Lunkuma return to the side, she has been away out of Uganda for some time. She's been studying in India. A very good player in her days at UCU. I don't think they're as good as they would have wanted to be going into the tournament.
Right. How many teams have confirmed participation, and who do you think is your favorite?
I'll start with the favorite. Before even I say the teams, I think Egypt will be tough to beat. Uganda will fancy their chances playing at home for the men's draw. But there is Egypt, there is Somalia, very competitive at this stage. There is Kenya, there is Ethiopia, there is Uganda, Burundi, and Rwanda for the men. Then the women's draw, take out Somalia and then include all the other 6 that have confirmed. That is Egypt, Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Burundi, and Rwanda. I don't know that I should be saying that the teams will be staying at Hotel Africana. Because I'll be alerting certain people to go there. But I've got to say that this is a very, very important tournament because, Brian, if you get to the final, the best 2 teams from here, the best 2 teams will qualify for the AfroBasket. AfroBasket is the Africa Cup of Nations for basketball in Africa. 2, those best 2 teams from the Zone 5 will also qualify for the All Africa Games, which will take place next year in Congo-Brazzaville. 3 is that All Africa Games that takes place in Congo-Brazzaville next year will also be a qualifier for the Olympics in 2016. So the prize is so huge that every team that comes, especially Egypt and Somalia, who are the best teams in this Zone 5 region, they'll come here to give it everything to qualify for the Olympics in 2016 in Brazil. Yeah.
Now, talking to some of our friends, especially Nemo Stars who are on Twitter right now, I know you're going to, because this is about you. The playoffs don't come until next month.
Yeah.
But just wait for us the semi-finals. Especially, how can one dethrone Nemo Stars?
I think with the events of last year, Nemo Stars will go into the playoffs feeling like favorites because they've been a dominant team in recent years in basketball, rather in volleyball. They play Sportes in their semi-final, while the other semi-finals in Kumba and KVC. I've got to say that just not too long ago, about 10 days ago, Nemo Stars played Sportes in the National Club Championship in Fort Portal. And actually in that game, Sportes took a 2-0 lead in the final in terms of sets and lost that final to Nemo Stars by 3 games to 2. But this is not as dominant a season for Nemo Stars as recent seasons because they've even finished 3rd in the league. KVC were top seeds, Sportes were 2nd, Nemo Stars were 3rd, Nkumba were 4th. But playoffs is a different volleyball animal. It's a different animal altogether. Nothing will count for regular season's reputation when the playoffs do start. And luckily for all the teams, they have a bit of time to prepare for that because the playoffs don't start until way after October 4th. And when they get there, probably Nemo Stars will have recovered and known whatever they didn't do right. I thought missing Tom Amo for latter part of the regular season was a bit of a problem for them. They'll have him playing the playoffs. So I have a feeling that for everything that Nemo Stars have done or haven't done in the regular season, there'll be even a hungrier lion when the playoffs do start next month.
Right, we'll be looking out for Nemo Stars. Before the show ends, you can send a tweet. We'll, I think, try and respond to that before we end the show at Nemo Stars Volleyball Club. But on to netball, Isma, this must be exciting news, probably putting them more on the edges. But is our netball team likely to appear in the World Cup in almost 40 years?
The last time they were at the World Cup is back in 1974. Sorry about that, 1974. And it's been quite a bit of time. But in that time, netball is one of the sports that has not been appreciated. Always, when I talk about netball, I never forget to say that however much they've loved the game and done so well for Uganda, Uganda has not loved them back. And actually, in netball, if you remember, they won the gold medal at the All Africa Games in Mozambique back in 2011. And had it not been for having a big parliament, they wouldn't even be in Botswana right now. Because all the money they used to travel there was collected in parliament. If there's a moment when I wish that we had a bigger parliament, it was this one. Because parliamentarians collected about 38.5 million shillings, with each one pulling together about 100,000 shillings to get the team to Gaborone. And actually, National Council Sports only gave them 2 tickets. Eventually, the team managed to get there. And now that they got there, they've already won 2 games. They beat up on Zambia, 52-45, and then beat up on Zimbabwe by the 1 point, 43-42. Today they play Botswana, and I've got to say that when you look at this, a round-robin tournament, because there are 6 teams taking part, and the top 2 teams will qualify for the World Cup, which is in Sydney next year. But with Kenya and Lesotho having pulled out, look at the teams that have directly qualified for the World Cup from Africa are South Africa and Malawi, teams that Uganda beats with the ease of Dortmund against Arsenal. that there is barely any competition with the two of them on the pitch. But now, because Uganda don't take part in these tournaments, or they are not registered, they don't have the resources to travel to those tournaments, is that they have to contend with the qualifying campaign, which would be irrelevant had Uganda been playing tournaments before, because they're not Ghana ranking points. Now, I have a feeling that these girls will come back triumphant. They've won 2 games, they have 3 games to play. I'd fancy them to go and beat up on Swaziland and Namibia, even if they fail to beat Botswana, who are playing at home. But now they need only 2 more results, and Uganda will be in the World Cup for the first time.
The last 2 games will be at home.
Exactly.
Well, we'll wish them all the luck. I wish we can get one of their captains here.
I'm hoping I'll get the coach to come here. Fred Mugera has worked with the netball team for quite some time.
Yeah.
He should be on NTV in, probably next week when they return from Aboroni. He'll probably tell a bigger sort of how much pain they go through before they compete for Uganda.
Yeah, we should and support these guys there. Netball, first time in 40 years in the World Cup. Well, we'll be waiting. Yeah. Now, sadly, we have to talk about Arsenal and Dortmund. Champions League was on yesterday, and I didn't watch the match, but I kept, saying on Twitter. What happened?
First of all, you're saved from the pain. Wherever you hide, please move your caves closer whenever you're playing Dortmund. I've got to say that this as an in-speed performance as Arsenal has put up in Europe in recent years. 2-0 they were beaten. Ciro Immobile and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang could have been worse for the Arsenal. Actually, their best player was the goalkeeper, Wojciech Szczesny, like I said earlier. I thought Arsenal looked like a team from the championship against Dortmund. They were that poor. They were pathetic to watch. They offered nothing going forward. They were very poor defensively. Actually, at some point, I thought, in a very sarcastic way, that Pameta Saka and Mikel Arteta were trying to give the ball away to Dortmund, because on no less than 5 occasions, Arsenal lost the ball within their own half to a Dortmund player who directly ran onto goal and actually could have scored even more. If you look at the first goal that Dortmund scored last night, Ciro Immobile, the guy they signed from Torino, an Italian international, is that he runs from inside his own half. If that's a goal that Stoke City scored against Man City through Mame Biram Diop, he runs from inside his own half, goes, has 3 or 4 Arsenal players to deal with, and all of them are just backtracking. He has his time, takes his time as much time as he needed, then smacks a ball past Wojciech Szczesny. Arsenal were poor. You even shudder to imagine how they've garnered this very good record away from home.
Yes.
Last night was a kind of reality check that probably Arsene Wenger needed. That is, the team needs to improve significantly for them to be competitive in Europe. But that's the kind of performance that probably you get spanked and you're thinking, okay, we can forget this. Because sometimes I think in football, it's easier to forget the extremely bad performance because there's no lesson to learn from them. You're saying we played poorly and we forget that. But last night, Dortmund were as good for the result, and 2-0 is an understatement. They should have scored 5.
He's been criticized for having been a very
expensive,
irresponsible buy for Arsenal. And he kind of proved that yesterday. In the corridors, you realize that Daniel Welbeck, we should have gotten
you have no words for him. But I've got to say that he should have scored at least once. And actually, I think one of the things in European games, and the difference between Arsenal and Dortmund has got to be very small, that when you're playing away from home, you won't get too many chances. Now, for Dan Welbeck to get 3 chances and not to bury any, because if he scores one of those, it's a totally different ball game. Probably it's 2-1 and Dortmund start to panic because probably didn't play as well in the second as they did in the first, because they had only 8 shots at goal. In the second half, they had 16 in the first. You've got to say that Dan Welbeck has got to bury one of the chances. And I've got to say he's not a finisher. He's not a Filippo Inzaghi. He's not a Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's not a Gerd Müller. He's not a Miroslav Klose. But even he's not a Raul Gonzalez. But even in his abilities, he's got to bury one of those chances. He's got to put away one of those chances. And it's so I mean disheartening. But for me, I've always said I find him very limited. Arsene Wenger has pulled off so many experiments, bringing players who are no names, including Thierry Henry, who is the biggest of them. But this one is one I think is bound to fail. I don't think they should have signed Dan Welbeck. I've said it repeatedly.
Liverpool's comeback was unconvincing, says many people. Why?
I think they were a bit nervous for a large portion of the game. Even after Mario Balotelli scored with about 8 minutes to the end of the game, they still consider. And Ludogorets Razgrad, who is not a team that many people know because they are Bulgarian champions, they are only here because they are one of their players going to goal and save a penalty, 2 penalties in the shootout in the last round to get this far. But I've got to say Liverpool were extremely nervous. They were anxious. I think they haven't experienced a Champions League night in 5 years. And actually, it's a bit like going to your first date and and then you knock the glass and the juice,
wine pours
you know,
and the,
yeah, then you're rushing,
food.
you're calling the waiter. That's what exactly Liverpool were doing. They're walking into a classroom for the very first time, and you're thinking you left your dad at the gate and you're already crying on the first day of school. That's exactly what Liverpool was. But eventually, they got the result. They got the 3 points.
Right.
A penalty from Steven Gerrard after the 90 minutes in added time to get Liverpool the result they needed, and 2-1. Probably not convincing the performance, but the 3 points were very important for Liverpool. They're going to have a chance because this is a group that has Real Madrid and also has Basel. Basel are very tough to beat. If you remember them in recent years. Yeah, they were beaten 5 last time, but they're a very tough team to beat, especially when they're playing at home. You'd fancy them to beat so many teams in Switzerland. I've got to say that Liverpool will be pleased to take a 3 points and run after that.
The 5-0 thrashing they got must have been a relief for Real Madrid after their very disappointing performance.
I've got to say that for me it's more than relief. It keeps Carlo Ancelotti in the job. I can imagine him not winning, having lost their last 2 games to Real Sociedad and Atletico Madrid. He would be in big trouble. And actually the big players have started playing well again. Gareth Bale scored and set up one. Ronaldo scored a goal. James Rodriguez scored a goal. And Karim Benzema.
All their stars
All the stars did score. The front four, like you would love to see them. And actually this is a kind, probably Basel is not the kind of team you'd want to judge how good Real Madrid would be playing. But I think in a situation when you've not been playing well and you've been losing games, Real Madrid will take the result. They will take the result. And I've got to say that being champions, the standards upon which Real Madrid are going to be judged are a lot higher. Probably if they had won this game by 2-1, everyone would be saying Madrid struggled to win the game. But to go and thump Basel by 5-1, and some of the things Gareth Bale did on that pitch last night showed a bit of the £80 million that they paid for him, especially his goal. Through ball, Luka Modric was having a blind in midfield, gets the ball over the goalkeeper, and then just goes and taps it. It was a brilliant goal to watch. I'd watch it 7 times in one day.
Awesome.
That's how good Real Madrid won the night. And for me, really for Carlo Ancelotti.
Well, I guess they are back. And tonight, the best in the business, Bayern Munich, are in action against Man City. This is season 2, I guess.
Season 2?
Season 2.
And
what is your anticipation?
In season 1, Bayern Munich won at the Etihad. And then Manchester City won in episode 2 at the Allianz Arena. Not many teams win there. I've got to say that Man City will go there very confident. There's all this talk about Man City doing well in Europe. You remember, they played in Europe for 2 years and didn't get past the group stages. Last year they got past that, reached a round of 16 and lost to Barcelona. And I was watching an interview with his company yesterday, and he's saying it's about doing well in Europe. Now, they go to a Bayern side that, for me, hasn't played well at the start of the season. They won their game against Stuttgart over the weekend by 2-0. But they don't have Frank Ribéry. He came back over the weekend, scored a goal, and then got injured. And Robben hasn't been playing because he's struggling with a bit of a muscle problem. So that means that Thomas Müller and Mario Götze have got to be the boys who are going to take charge of the game. And for me, the thing that Bayern lack, that Man City could thrive on, is that without Robben and Ribéry, they would lack a bit of pace. Now, when they have that pace, they're totally different animal. Now, I've got to think that Man City have got to go there and compete. And with this talk about how they want to do well in Europe, I'd fancy them to get something in Germany. They may not leave empty-handed.
Wow. Awesome. What are the other games up tonight?
There's Chelsea against Schalke. Chelsea at home to Schalke, the German side. Chelsea always get the right end of the stick because their groups are normally very easy. Because the other teams in the group are Maribor and Sporting Lisbon. Maribor was doing Sporting Lisbon today. And for me, that's a fixture that Chelsea should win comfortably. They've been playing some good games, and lately, though Diego Costa says that the goals will eventually dry up, even if he scored 7 in 4 in that start of the Premier League. And probably the other, and I'll have a lot of interest in, should be Roma at home to CSK Moscow. For one reason, that Italy lost their Champions League place to Germany. They now have 3 slots. Now they have to do well in Europe this year. The 2 Italian sides, that's Juventus and Roma especially. They have to do well in Europe this year because Napoli already knocked out in the qualifying rounds by Athletic Bilbao. Bilbao who do host Shakhtar Donetsk. And now Roma have to do well to get Italy back to a position where they can reclaim that 4th spot in Europe. But should be some interesting games, but probably the biggest one of them has got to be that one. Bayern Munich against Manchester City.
Yeah, we'll look at 9:45. 9:45 p.m. On SuperSport, I guess. We'll watch those games. Nemo Stars says, at Morning at NTV, you need to train as hard as we do to stop us. Okay, Nelson, we'll be watching you. We'll be definitely watching you. And before we leave you, check out your African proverb. No matter how full the river, it still wants to grow.
Sure. Because the rivers are always taking water from some other source. So even if there is water flowing through at the point, which you assume it's full, it's still taking in more. Yeah, no, I think that should be about knowledge.
Yeah.
I think if you relate it to people, never stop seeking knowledge. I've always said that even people with small heads may have as much knowledge, and even those with big heads may have no knowledge at all. So I think there is no end to acquiring knowledge, just like a river keeps taking in water. Probably at some point I've always thought, when I see the stories about the economic might that comes with the River Nile, Egypt profit from it more than all the countries, yet the River Nile starts here because they barely have any rain, they use it for irrigation, they use it for everything. And I'm thinking, the River Nile is ours first. We should profit from it even much more than Egypt. But that tells you a lot about the search for knowledge. It shouldn't stop at any point in time.
Well, some quick comments here on Twitter at Turiande saying, Brian rolls the show, though he stops us speaking our minds to some people that need to be told. Well, I asked you to be objective on the show, not to abuse people on the show. That's all. Someone also saying, I still can't understand MP Odonga Oto Yarida Kantu. We'll be following that story very closely here at Morning at NTV. Download NTV Mobi and get on with us as we celebrate 8 years, 100 bikes in 100 days, and of course, 8 gift hampers every day. Today at 5 p.m., we'll be starting officially this competition. Until tomorrow, have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.